What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Review here on PLD Projects. I am your host, PLD. With me, as always, my compatriots. Lego, how are you doing?
PLD, I'm doing well. But this episode, it was a bit rough.
This was a struggle bus to rewatch. This was the one I have been dreading since we began this show. I knew by the time we got here that this was not going to be a fun rewatch.
Although I think our feelings about it come from different places.
I don't disagree. I was gonna say I have been kind of hinting towards this character. I'm gonna come out right out from the top. I was hinting from this character that I thought was worse than Robin. And you all, if you've watched this show for any length, you know how we both feel about the character of Robin Maxwell. And Lego, you have failed. You have failed me. You do not agree. You are on a different side of the boat. I'm going to blame 21 Jump Street. I'm going to blame now Fright Night Part 2.
Which also has Blair Tefkin, aka Robin, your two least favorite characters, all in one movie.
That's not something that is a selling point for me.
Fright Night 2 is so underrated. Such a fun movie.
I have to admit, I have seen Fright Night Part 2, but it was literally like 20 years ago. So I remember very little of it at all.
It's a breezy, entertaining, probably not even 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's on my list. It's somewhere down on my list. I have so many movies I got to get to.
What's more important? Well, okay, it's not more important. Fright Night was what I really like this guy from. 21 Jump Street is what I really like this guy from. He plays Ronnie. It's actually the two-part episode that he enters the show in. Besieged is the next episode up on my my rewatch, and then he comes back like a couple seasons later in a one-off episode. And I really like him in both those characters, but he's also in a movie that I saw as a young child, had a very deep impact on me. It's a little thing called River's Edge with Keanu Reeves and Crispin Glover. And apparently not a lot of people watch that, which is unfortunate. He's probably the least memorable character, but I mean, that movie is chock full of very memorable characters and really wild scenes. It is a dark, dark movie. I kind of wonder if maybe David Lynch was inspired to make Twin Peaks from this, because I would say if you watch this and then watch Twin Peaks, you'll definitely see a lot of kind of crossovers.
Influences.
But anyway, I like the actor. He definitely plays a certain type of character very well. And
the douche. That's what he plays well.
He plays like the stoner kind of rebel very well. In 21 Jump Street, he does definitely play a douche really, really well.
I just want it known for the record that you told me that you liked it, or we had this conversation a little bit before, and I was flabbergasted in my mind. And that's when I went to IMDb and I saw 21 Jump Street. I said, there it is.
You thought I was done talking about 21 Jump Street.
I will give this actor or this character one bit of credit. When I put Robin up against him, the biggest win over Robin that he has is that he's in only one episode.
Oh my God. Hey, he was successful in Wargaming the Visitors. PLD.
He was successful at Independence Day Visitors 10 years early, as it were.
Although I do have a lot of comments about the script in this.
There's a script?
You know what? You got me there. you got me there.
I found out something funny, by the way. I read this book. I think I told you about I mentioned a few times. Sorry, I'm blanking on it now. Fascist lizards, and I have to find this for the record. I'll find it for later on. But it goes through a lot of the episodes and everything else, and I really finished reading it again recently. Going through, I like to try to find out little tidbits of stuff, especially with the upcoming finale that we're going to watch, or actually not the finale, the script that we're going to read after, the unfinished script, as it were. And I found out a fact, because it kind of goes into a little bit, the book goes into a little bit of what was happening at the end, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
drugs.
Fascist lizard from outer space, that's the name of the book.
Cocaine.
The best part about it is you're not going to believe this. You will not believe this. But it is in the book, and they have not steered me wrong. There was a writer's Bible. for V.
That is the biggest pile of bullshit I've ever heard in my entire life.
I know, right? I'm gonna save that. I will save that for that episode. But I was as shocked as you were.
I have seen better like character Bibles from Fandom Wiki.
You're not wrong. You were absolutely not
I
wrong.
have personally written better character Bibles when I was going through my first time watching Lost. This is such a lie.
Stay tuned for episode 20.
Okay, here.
Kind of episode 20.
You know, sometimes someone will say something because they recognize words. So someone probably said, we had a character Bible, but what they really had was some Post-it notes, and someone threw away the Post-it notes and they forgot. So they just went based on memory.
That could be. I don't have it. I was not the writer of the book. I did not have the sources. I don't know, but that could absolutely be. That would actually make a lot more sense to me. But either way, this episode is episode 17, War of Illusions. At this point, we are definitely in the nadir of the series. We are going downhill quickly. There are only 2 more episodes after this one that aired. And then, like I said, we have the unproduced script, which it's kind of funny. Like most sources say unfilmed. There are some rumors, sources out there that said that was maybe partially filmed. But we will get into that as well. That's actually I'm looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to getting your reaction while I read that script to you. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think. But this is an episode where, once again, we have a character who doesn't appear. Julie does not appear yet for the second episode in a row. Julie doesn't appear. Julie, I think Figuehead had enough. I think that she was like, bye-bye. I'm not going to be in this show too much longer.
I mean,
I can't blame her.
Well, I mean, if I'm writing the show, do I want Julie or do I want the Beastmaster?
Right, exactly.
I
Because
want
he is
Beastmaster.
absolutely a saving grace. He's actually the saving grace of this episode to me, for the most part, on his
Yeah,
side.
you know what wasn't a saving grace? Like, okay, I don't want to be mean here,
Okay.
but
Bring it
Kyle,
up, babe.
my friend, my buddy, my guy, my pal.
Vegan ham.
Well, yeah. I don't know if he was trying to grow a beard or look like he had 5 o'clock shadow, but it didn't. No part of it was working. It's just like shave. This is bothersome. I can't unsee it. Shave.
And he's trying to be the badass with the stubble at this point. He's trying to, but I don't think he can actually grow it. I think that's the problem. So I don't know. Maybe he put that like makeup on. I remember like
it does look like makeup.
It might well be. I remember like I had to do a show when I was like in high school, and it was this last minute decision by the director. Like the night of the show, was like, I want you to have stubble. I'm like, well, I can't just grow it in an hour. So they actually tried to put makeup on, and it looks awful. I'm like, this is the stupidest thing. Just either tell me not to shave or don't. It was awful. I agree though. He does not look good in this episode. He's not. Kyle Jeff Yeager is not good in this episode at all. He goes from trying to be this like mentor type character, but he's just not really good at it because he does.
I disagree.
He needs a mentor himself. I think he needs a mentor himself still.
I thought he did really. I thought that I know you're gonna hate me right now. I thought that he and the kid worked really well together, and I liked them playing.
Maybe I'm just tainted by the fact that anytime that kid was on screen, I wanted to punch him. I was like Mike Donovan
I think
in this episode.
that might be what's up.
Because I was definitely channeling Mike Donovan's reactions to him. And Mike Donovan, when Mike Donovan acts that way towards a quote unquote innocent type kid, you know something's wrong. When
I
Elizabeth
didn't really see that happening. Did I miss it?
He almost hit him like 3 times. Like he literally almost
didn't see it.
I'll get to the point when I get there. When Elizabeth, of all characters, basically says, "You fucking pussy, shut up, let's do this thing."
Oh, I can't stand Elizabeth.
I can't either. But like when she's saying that to the character,
yeah, that whole part of the dialogue didn't make sense. I really hate when writers do that. When they put a situation in front of a character and they say, you know, I've done the best I can. I can't accomplish this for whatever reason. And someone just starts yelling at them to try to motivate them, and suddenly they can do it. But it's like, that would in real life that would never
I would have
work.
almost preferred Elizabeth using Jedi powers to like trick his mind in or something like that. I'd
Oh, her
actually love
Jedi
that.
powers were ridiculous in
Well,
this
of course.
episode.
I don't know how she does these things. Yeah, these were definitively Deus Ex Machina as well. But not only that, I want to dive into, and we're going to get through this whole episode bit by bit. But you're talking over just like the overview now. The visitors in this episode were completely like different than not even different than they've been, but like they're just like almost caricatures of themselves the entire
But
episode.
PLD, it's in the character Bible. I'm gonna be making fun of that a lot.
I'm sure I'm giving you full reign because I agree with you completely. I mean, let's go to the very beginning of this episode. We
Wait,
open up.
I'm sorry. I have one more thing I wanted to
Go
say.
ahead. Absolutely.
And it starts with this opening scene. The shots in this episode, like the lighting, looks atrocious.
Yes.
Like surprisingly bad. Like I kind of want to compare. I don't want to compare it to like a soap opera because like even their lighting is like significantly better. Like what happened? Did their lighting guy like quit that week and they couldn't get anybody else? Like what was going on?
I almost feel like they were trying to save money even more than usual, and they were doing like dark shots, so, like they don't see it. You don't have to like be production design. You have to like you get away with not seeing as much. And not only that, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but I did. I sure did. How many close-ups we had in this episode. Like the camera is right up in their faces. Again, I think to hide where they are. They don't see anything in the background. We just have to I gotta get an establishing shot and then boom, the rest of it's like right in your face.
And lately, these past few episodes and this one, they've been holding on reactions for just a bit too long.
Yes, that's
like,
agreed
in a
too.
way that's like weird and off-putting. Like, okay, cut away now.
Yeah, we get it. We get it. And to have these close-ups as they open this scene with this dark lighting, like you said, and Diana and James in bed, and the close-ups are just in their like up their nose, basically. I was like, I don't need to see this. I don't need to see this at all. But what did Diana and James? Okay, so we know that Diana has her proclivities, and that she's definitely going through the fleet whenever she can to get what she wants when she wants it. And James has always been good about giving her what she wants, both in this situation and as like her right-hand man. But it's this weird setup right away. And I don't know why we have to start with this. It seems like a weird place to start an episode. Is that just me? Maybe it's just me.
I mean, we got to show Diana. They show her in a. It's very sexual, this episode.
Yeah, especially on Diana's side.
Yeah.
I never thought peeling a goldfish was going to be sexual, but that's what they mentioned, peeling a goldfish. It was just very weird. Funny enough, I looked on the subtitles. They talk about like, I don't know, it's a holiday for the visitors or what, but they call it Sluta, which is spelled SLUTAH. So it's basically slut. That's what it's like spelled as. And I'm like, are you really? I think these writers this week just wanted to make Diana into their sexual object. That's what it kind of felt like to me, because that's pretty much all she does the entire episode, except for like
the past half of this show has been kind of been doing that. It's really ridiculous.
I mean, it's always been a part of her character, but she's always used it as like a weapon more than anything else. She would like use her she would use her sexuality like to get what she wants, or to show her power, to be dominating, that kind of thing. This just kind of feels like she just wants to get laid, and we're going to show that. And it just seemed very, very strange.
And also, it doesn't really serve the rest of the episode.
Right, exactly. This is so. I feel that's why I kind of felt like it just opens up her and James going at it. It's like, okay, this is just Diana's naked. All right, move on. Okay.
But more importantly, I'm so sorry. Now, okay, so they're in their human suits.
This is your love. This is your thing. Go ahead. Yes.
Do you think it works as a condom?
That's a great question. I mean, we don't even really know if they mate the same way.
I mean, one of them got Robin pregnant. I'm assuming they got it.
Well, but Diana knew that's how the Earth people made love, and that's a good question. I don't know because I never went into it, but I have to assume it would be. It's got to be, right. It's like a latex type thing, right? It's made of rubber. It should, unless they have. Well, here's the question we have. We're getting really deep into the real deep shit here. Like, do they have a hole where like this would come out? I don't know. We don't. Or is that like is it like a Ken doll down there? Is it like a Ken doll kind of like top off kind of thing? I mean, I think it has something there, obviously, or else he couldn't do anything. But so I don't know. That's a great question. Questions
Or
that,
they like, or do you think it's like, what are they called? Like ballerinas wear.
oh, like I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it though.
Yeah, but it's like a bodysuit situation.
Bodysuit. It could be. I guess it could be. Do you think that's in the character
But
Bible?
then how does it open?
Is that in the character Bible?
How do they pee? Like,
Never
where does the makeup stop? Because it seems like they can take everything off and they're all human looking.
Right. Yes, that's true, because we've seen that. We saw that in the original miniseries. Remember when Donovan had to take Barbara's uniform?
Mm-hmm.
And she went down to basically a bikini. So we basically saw everything, at least there was. So that would make sense. So
the makeup department on this planet was really out there making fake nipples. What kind of research did they do on Earth before they got here?
That is all the alien research that we've been told, all the probing, all of the kidnappings, and all that because they wanted to make makeup so that they could look proper when they came down to meet us and to trick us. It's actually
you're dressing up like your food source. I'm just saying it's a lot. It's a lot weird. It's literal bestiality.
It is.
They're furries.
Yeah, the visitors are furries. You're right, and I mean, especially when you consider Diana and James, it's one thing when you're seducing a human. You're seducing. It's like more like us. Like if it'd be like a man and a woman dressing up as dogs to have sex.
It's real weird.
Like it's very strange. I don't know what they're.
I don't want to kink shame, but like I think when you're crossing over into like your food. Well, don't people eat dogs? But like I don't know, cows.
Cows. There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Pigs. Damn. We are asking this. We are asking the real questions here, the solid questions. If you're watching this show, looking for a review of this episode, we're
asking some kind of questions,
and we are just tipping the surface off here.
Oh wait, no. My next note is Donovan and Kyle doing something on a tip from Philip.
There you go. All right, let's jump to it because that is the next scene. We get Donovan and Kyle going to meet Philip. Go ahead, lead us in with it then, Lego.
So Donovan already seems like he trusts Philip pretty explicitly. Kyle has his reservations for reason.
I mean, I guess I can see both sides of that. Donovan obviously probably won over by Martin's brother, so he's probably easily won over. He probably actually should be a little less trusting because it's not Martin. But they did fight. They had that manly, that manly age. We fight, superhero. We fight. I won. I spared you. We must trust each other now thing going on. But Kyle is actually a little, honestly, more hesitant. Kyle's playing vegan ham. If he was ham there, he wouldn't believe him at all. He'd be all in on like knocking Philip out. But because he's vegan ham, he's allowed to just, I don't know if I believe the situation here.
Yeah, character Bible. Mm-hmm. But it does seem like this show has characters doing things based on what they need someone to do, and they just have whichever character's in the scene doing it, regardless of does that make sense for the character. Well, I don't necessarily know if that makes sense for Kyle or not.
They've cut the characters down. That's the part of the problem. They've cut a lot of characters out. We have no epic cast anymore. We have like we said, 5 resistance fighters, and usually 1 or 2 are off in an episode. I mean, we do get Elizabeth and Willie in this episode, kinda towards the end more, but I mean, it's more of a Donovan and Kyle led episode, which is fine. I don't mind. But again, so we only Donovan and Kyle. He one to trust, one not to trust. So Kyle got the short end of the stick at that point. I don't know if it doesn't work because Kyle's never really dealt with the fifth column very much. I don't think he's dealt with the good visitors at all. Besides Willie, and Willie is kind of different being living with them and everything else. So I don't know if it doesn't work. I kind of bought Kyle being a little bit suspicious, at least of the case of let me keep you honest. Let me keep you honest, Donovan. You're all in on this guy, and that's a little weird that you're all in on the guy who just tried to kill you like a couple an episode ago before you had the big fight. So I'm okay. I'm okay with it, but it is interesting that Philip is now meeting them, and obviously he's trying to prove he's on their side, and Philip's transformation from Inspector General to like fifth column leader does seem very quick. Because Philip fought.
No, I think he was already there.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because I think it's one thing to be like, okay, I respect you, but now because Martin was your friend, I'm going to just not be loyal anymore, and I'm going to twist.
But I think what also pushes him towards kind of needing to side to, make a decision who he sides with is the leader's launching a blitz in 36 hours. So it's kind of whose side am I on? I got to choose quick.
Right. And the interesting part is this is where it should have been more interesting than it was. Like, this is why I like the idea of Philip to a degree. Like, Philip is in charge, so he should be able to sabotage it even easier. I know he has to kind of like play his part, and I know he's got to like keep his intentions hidden, but I feel like he could have done even more to stop the battle than to tell Donovan and Kyle, hey, the leader's got this blitz, you got to find a computer that can fuck it up. Kind of thing. I think he should be able to figure out a way to help more, but again, that doesn't serve the story, unfortunately.
Yeah, I did not like the story for this episode.
There's not a lot to like. It's a weird thing. It's weird special effects throughout. We already mentioned it. We had our thumbnail. Just a behind the scenes story. You guys here when we first meet before we start recording, I usually prepare like 5 or 6 thumbnails. I don't have that many pictures I can get from V. They're like on the web, so I can kind of choose the best one we got. One of them is the Blitzkrieg, was the Battlesphere itself, and my God, as soon as I put it up, let it go, you said, and it was in my notes as well. It basically is like a Spencer's Gift lightning ball. That's basically what it is. Technology.
I had one.
We all had one at some point. If we didn't even have one, you definitely went to Spencer's and played with it.
It was so fun. You could put your finger there. It was like a little lightning was getting you.
But that is the Battlesphere from a highly technological species who came from.
I have no earthly conception how this was supposed to work. So my takeaway is I'm relating this to my time working at a movie theater. So when I worked in a movie theater, they started doing films digitally. So at some point, the films just started to play automatically.
Right.
And if there was a problem, we had to call like the HQ to get them to like fix the issue. Like so we did almost nothing on site for the films.
Right.
So it was kind of like that, where he has sent out some sort of communication technologically that is, I guess, being picked up or received by a different computer on Earth that will do something with their little aircrafts that's gonna cause a blitz.
It was.
Then once that the leader has, hit the send for this message for the little aircrafts to receive, it cannot be changed.
Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me either. But I think you got it mostly right
whatsoever. But I also don't understand 80s jargon, so I'm gonna go with it.
I did. I think I agree with you 100%. I think the leader basically supposedly signs his plan that nobody can look at because I guess I theorize that nobody can look at it because the leader doesn't want anybody to get the chance to sabotage it. But once he puts it in the system, it goes the lightning ball thing. Lightning ball thing sends out the plans to the sky fighters. The sky fighters are supposed to perform a blitz over the country. Now,
is the lightning thing supposed to be a satellite?
I think partially like a satellite kind of thing. Like it receives the orders and it's able to send out the orders. I don't know why it's so special. Like
And then
you
why
can just
call
let
it
a
a
computer.
battlesphere when it's a communication device?
Right, exactly. But the weird part about it is it's these aren't drone skyfighters. These are regular piloted skyfighters, it seems. So
Yeah.
like couldn't they just
They really needed to show something else.
Yeah, I am willing to give.
They needed to work in robots.
I mean, there's a way you can skip the jargon and you kind of like will buy the audience will be like, for example, totally off kilter. And I'm not comparing this at all because there's no comparison. But I watched Back to the Future the other night, and I made I mentioned my friend, like my family watched it. It was great fun, one of the most perfect movies of all time. And I made a mention to my son. I'm like, you know what I love about one of the things I love about Back to the Future. You see the flux capacitor. They never tell you how the flux capacitor works. They never tell you how the time
It's
travel
what
works.
makes time travel
Possible, right? They never go into the details, but
Flux
the audience
capacitor.
doesn't give a crap.
Fluxing.
It's
one of my
fluxing.
favorite lines.
Me too. The pause too. The flux capacitor fluxing.
Yeah, all right.
Exactly.
It's fluxing. Moving on.
Moving on, but you never really think about it because you don't care because it's believable enough. Like it's vague enough. This actually goes into almost too much detail to a degree, but then not at all enough. You can't go into that much detail as it does, and then just leave the rest of it up to like.
I mean, they go into detail, and I don't know if it's the writers hearing words that are kind of newer technologically, and then trying to put something out there that is what I guess their imagination of what these things are and do and work. Or if it's just, I don't know, let's write some spoofs.
Yeah, I think they just needed a MacGuffin, and they got it, and it didn't. Yeah, but it is awful. It
could just be so much. And the worst part is, I'm just gonna skip to it. So at the end, the kid, he's what's his name?
Henry?
Matthew Broderick.
Oh, okay.
Completely war games this. He's been arrested for espionage. The government has taken him to WORP. He's typed in Joshua. He's playing tic-tac. All right. He's winning. And then he says something to the effect of, I took him out with a flick of the wrist. You're not flicking your wrist at anything. You should have said, I took him out with a press of a button, because that's what he's doing. And that right there just goes to show how lazy the writing is. If I was writing this for a class and turned this in, my professor absolutely would have circled this in red and said, think about your word choice.
Yes, good point. Great point. They don't have any red markers here. They're under a deadline.
No, they are writing this on red paper.
Coming up now, by the way, speaking of lazy, speaking of egregiousness, so Donovan and Kyle and Philip have this meeting. They discuss it. They go, okay, this is what we got to do. Right after this scene, we jump to repeated footage from like 4 episodes ago that has no bearing on the episode at all. Donovan, Philip, and Kyle leave. We jump to James in a Jeep who says, Sergeant, that van there, check it out. I don't want to leave any vehicles that might be commandeered by the resistance from the rescue episode. This is the episode where Kyle and Julie are in with the doctor and his wife. And the visitor says, yes, sir. And he goes to check it out. And then they jump ship to the mothership. This scene is totally useless, and it's like not even a new scene. Like, why?
We know that James has been doing a lot more raids.
Yes. And you didn't want to waste time on a shot, I guess, but like it just literally happened 4 episodes ago.
But they should have waited to reuse that scene before he goes into the shop to arrest Henry's dad.
That would be better, but they don't even need to do even that. If you want to establish that James is on the planet doing raids, you could even have done the scene without the dialogue, or just show James in a thing and just show visitors marching in the streets. That's all you need to do, an establishing shot. And if that reused footage like that, I'd be okay with it. But you're actually using the same dialogue, it's just a scene. It's not even cuts back and forth. It was so egregious. It was so lazy.
PLD though, this absolutely makes sense, because as we've read from Lieutenant James in the character Bible, You know what? He works really hard and he does a lot of raids on Earth because he really wants to please Diana because she's promised that they'll reach victory together and he believes her.
I almost walked out of the episode at that point. I got to be honest with you.
So early on.
I know.
Have that reaction a little later.
I do.
I definitely did in the next episode. We talked about that.
We'll get there. Although the funny thing was I was kind of saved and brought back at the next scene because it was just so bizarre. We have this visitor celebration. I guess this is
they have a lot of celebrations. They have a lot of holidays. Do these people ever work?
Never. But we have Diana dressed in this gorgeous dress. I think I like.
So I think the reason they have you just made clicked it for me. I think the reason they have so many celebrations is because they want to get Diana. They want to get Jane Badler in a new sexy outfit,
and it works. It definitely works.
It does.
Really good. Unfortunately,
I'm easily manipulated.
They get June Chadwick Lydia also in a outfit, which is another strange choice of an outfit. I kind of felt they had like this glitterly diamond headband thing going on. But the funniest part about that,
she was a cast reject from the animated show Gem.
That is a great way to describe it. I didn't know how to describe it. You just solved that for me. Yes, a reject from
I'm
Gem.
here for the weird references.
And how bad is Lydia, who just wanted to kill Philip, to advance, and now she's like getting drunk and hanging all over him?
Fuck him or kill him. She's gonna advance.
I guess that's the way to go. Maybe Lydia's smarter than I thought.
Well, she also liked Charles.
She did. She was in love with Charles. That's what and before she accidentally killed him through Diana and through the pharmacist, who Marta is still flying off in space at some point. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you were on ship with Philip, wouldn't you fall for him?
I mean, he is charming. He is very charming. It is.
He doesn't wear his shirt open down to his navel like Charles. He doesn't have that sex appeal,
No,
but
he does have an air, though.
Commanding.
He does have an air of command, an air of intelligence, even though it doesn't come off that way all the time. But I do find it funny how he reacts to Lydia on him the whole time. He just kind of was like, yeah, okay.
It's kind of like when you're trying to leave, but your kid doesn't want you to, so they've like wrapped themselves around your knee and they're sitting on your foot.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Philip seems very happy to get a chance to leave when he brings the bathysphere to the deck. But before we get to there, we should bring up you're one of your favorite characters and my favorite character as well. This is where we see Oswald for the first time in this episode. Glad to see him back. Was kind of surprised to see him back. We saw him in the previous episode. I think it was the Wildcats episode he was in. He felt like a one-off character.
How dare you, sir?
And he did. He felt like he was going to be a one-off.
He feels like one of those characters where, like, we'll just bring him in for an episode, and everyone's like, no, we got to bring this guy back.
That's what I think it was. I think that he was written to be just one-off character, but he kind of just...
He's the Castiel of V.
Castiel, that's what it is. He winged his way on and stayed on. With the uniform, by the way, I noticed he has the gold stripe, because I don't know what that necessarily means in the military-wise, but it's a different stripe than everybody else has. But he is a
fancy.
That's what it is. He is a fancy visitor. We mentioned before, I think before we went live, before we started recording, he does have that characterization that is just someone you want to watch more of. He's got some very perverted proclivities, as they would say.
I mean, he doesn't even chew the scenery. He more strolls across. He glides into his scene. He makes you just enthralled, and then he leaves you wanting more.
But at the same time, it makes you feel a little dirty, like you want to take a shower.
Oh, no, PLD, disagree.
I
personally, before we started filming, I noted that he reminded me kind of Lafayette, that he seemed to kind of have like every job.
That's true.
And he's a little bit of a hustler, a little bit of a pimp. He'll do anything you need him to do as long as he's getting compensated for it, and he's having himself a good time.
Colonization is so much fun, he says, and Lee, of course, calls him out and wanting to run all his perverted little experiments on the human, and Oswald seems to be quite turned on at the moment, and that's why it's a little filthy, but
I think they left that there for like a joke. It just
well,
didn't work. It just ended up being silent. It almost felt like they wanted a laugh track. That's what it is. When they have a lot of these holding on facial expressions, it almost feels like it's like a sitcom, and they have that kind of situational comedy set up to like pause for the laugh.
Okay.
Now keep acting.
I could see that.
It really doesn't work.
No. I will say that despite the pauses not working, they actually work better with Oswald because he has great facial expressions. He does not linger. His facial expressions actually change. He doesn't, when they linger on him, he'll go in his mind from being like one thought to another. Like you see all these like thoughts crossing. I don't know what they are necessarily, but these thoughts keep changing in his mind. He keeps like going from like, did I say too much? Ooh, she's right. I could think it's a lot of going on in his head, and I wish we had more. I wish we had a full episode.
Give this man a thought bubble. Let's go.
Bingo. If we had lasted a few seasons, I was going to hope we'd get at least an Oswald-centric episode. That would have been the greatest episode possibly in the series, potentially. Anyway, the battle plan comes through during the celebration. So despite how drunken they all are, they have to go to the deck and start learning about the battlesphere and the leader's plans.
I really want to know what they've gotten drunk off of, because don't they establish in the original series something about alcohol and drugs? We know they can get high. Can they get drunk? I forgot.
I think they could because I know Brian was drinking champagne. I thought he got a little drunk. I don't know though for sure. Definitely could get high though. We all saw that because the mousy, exactly, mousy. They had some kind of smoky orange, like a Halloween drink in this one, in the celebration. That's what they appear to be drinking. I don't know. Maybe it's a different kind of intoxication.
It would be so funny if they got drunk off orange soda. Who loves orange soda? Keenan and Cal are going to come in and defeat all these aliens, and that would be a movie.
That would be the crossover we all didn't know we needed.
What a great Good Burger 3. Let's go.
Let's go. A lizard burger. So they get to the front desk at the mothership area, and they start talking about things. Now, James supposedly thinks he's gotten the hacker. We learned that there's a hacker going on that's been somehow connecting with the mothership's computer. And we see this plot repeated in 1995 in Independence Day. And I have to say, it was so, not believable then.
How dare you, sir? I believed it.
1995 computers connecting with, alien intelligence from miles away.
It bothers me when people do this, because you're taking your real world knowledge and applying it to a fictional world. As long as the fictional world sets up rules and follows its rules, it's fine. It's fiction.
We couldn't even get Apple. We couldn't get Apple and Android to cross over without problem back in 1995, let alone a totally different unknown system.
But in Independence Day, they clearly established that this is a viable thing, and it is explained.
And then in 1985, 10 years earlier, when you have Tandy computers and Commodore 64s.
Again, I think as long as the rules that are established within the universe are not broken, that's what matters.
So basically, you're saying you can go to if you're set in 1985, you can make anything legal as long as you say it.
In V.
Now, I will admit,
aliens, lizard people coming in.
I will admit that there have been more unbelievable things than that. I will give you that.
I'm just really frothing at the mouth, ready to talk about when this kid calls it visitories.
Visitories, yes, we're going to get there for sure. Okay, either way, the hacker still checks in, and James, I love this fact. Okay. So James says, I have my men ready for this. They have the source on the hacking. He got the pinpointing the exact location, gets permission from Diana to go. And he actually says, this time we'll have them, and they'll never hear us coming. They'll never hear us coming.
Listen, like I said, they don't pay attention to semantics.
Then the very next scene when they come, They come in sirens. The police say
They
sirens.
don't. It's just the laziest writing.
I never even noticed that part before I got out. It was this time I actually noticed that. But it's so like, it's the laziest writing. Like, it's like you just said something 2 minutes ago. Now you're, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
So I do like the store owner. Very importantly, he was on an episode of the Golden Girls. So he's an important human being.
Wait, Henry's father?
Mhm.
Dr. Atkins, yes. Dr. Atkins actually mainly known for being Mindy's father in Mork and Mindy. He was in 70 episodes of Mork and Mindy, and he is Mindy's father.
I've seen clips.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. It's okay. It's okay. I never watched all of the show. I knew of him from that because
I think my family actually lived behind Robin Williams' family back when he was on Mork and Mindy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my family owned a limo company in Hollywood back in the olden times.
There must be some stories there.
You know, I'm sure there were a lot more. I really only heard about one particular person. I won't name them, but man, they were nothing but bad things. They were, yeah, I won't say who it was about.
You'll have to continue that off air.
Yeah.
I actually have a friend a coworker now who actually for a long time drove limos, and he used to tell me a lot of stories about certain individuals. Not necessarily even bad, just funny stories. Grateful Dead story was one that was really good, and Jerry Garcia was one he traveled around with. And he was a funny person to drive around, I guess is what I would say. Not bad.
I mean, they're the Grateful Dead. It's got to be, right?
Right, exactly.
I think if you have a pint of Ben and Jerry's named after you, you got to be cool.
Got to be cool. You got to be chill. Cool. Absolutely, 100%.
Got to be chill.
All right, let's get into this. You see Henry Atkins, the store owner, and then we meet your friend and not mine, Henry Atkins. And this douche, every time he opens his mouth, I feel like he needs to be put over his father's knee and spanked.
Well, how did you feel about his dad? His dad seemed very kind.
His dad, I like the father. The father's a good character, a nice character, although he does give up rather quickly. Visitors are coming. I'm not going to run. You better run. Very quickly.
So I didn't really see that as giving up. I saw that as if no one's out here in front for them to arrest, they're going to turn this place upside down, and they might find the back way out.
Potentially, I guess.
Doesn't he say something to the fact that they need to arrest someone?
I
didn't write the line down. I don't remember.
It could be. But it takes a long time to get there, first of all, because we have this whole sequence with it felt like it was like we have to extend this scene out. We have to extend this episode out. So we're going to establish this general store and this woman who wants tuna.
Which is like just tuna. That's the only thing you're going to eat. It was very confusing to me. And then, I don't know, the whole thing was kind of confusing to me. And the store itself, you could tell that they just did not have money to put into a store. Like, it looked like, I mean, not even a bodega, like a gas station.
That's basically what it looked like. Exactly. He said, I got it here now. He said, it's important that some family of ours survives, that one of us lives, and that it does say, if they take me, they won't look for you.
Yeah, that's what I thought, that he was essentially saying that, if they find me, they're not going to continue to look.
I'm watching this again, and every time this Henry has a delivery of line, any line delivery is just, he's got a punchable face, slappable face.
I'm telling you, man, he's like, he works so perfectly in the stuff that he's in later in River's Edge, 21 Jump Street, Friday Night 2. Like, he works really well with like a Keanu and a Crispin in that like stoner, kind of like grunge, like teen with a bad attitude, disaffected youth kind of character.
This is his debut. But I can't speak for anything beyond that. I will not speak on that. Maybe he's an Academy Award stellar actor down the line. I don't know. But in this episode, the amount of sneering he does in every line, the Elvis kind of like lip curl, and like the attitude, that he gives, every single line, you need to have a little more range.
I mean, he's essentially playing the exact same character that Blair Tefkin played as Robin. It's the annoying teen who's just disgusted with everything. Like, if you go in their head and we're in the Inside Out universe, it's just the green character. That's it. It's just the green one.
That was a good call.
Which I feel like these writers really thought that, I don't know, if you're writing a teen character, they need to be a brat, and that they don't. Like, they don't. It's actually not necessary.
You're right, but even his "I love you" annoyed me. Even
PLD, you're just being petty.
I am. I wholeheartedly, admittingly being petty. I try to go in with an open mind. I try to be like, you know what? I'm going to watch this.
Like, I'm trying to work with you, PLD. I'm trying to work with you, but I get it. You know, there's some characters you just don't like. To me, he's kind of like, you know, I love Keanu. I love Keanu, but he doesn't work in everything.
No,
we've all seen Dracula. He doesn't work in everything. He found what he was good at, and he does it, and does it super, super well. Like, perfect at what he's good at doing.
Right.
But that what he's doing is niche.
Right.
This kid, kind of the same thing. And this just isn't what this is his Dracula. This is
the big difference is here. You have seen other things and have liked him, and that's fine. See, I have not. This is my imagine seeing Keanu, and your only impression of Keanu was Dracula.
I mean, that was me for a real long time.
So I bet you did not like Keanu.
It was Dracula and River's Edge. I'm like, oh, you poor guy. What were they thinking?
And I love Keanu now. I love Keanu. Anyway, I love Keanu because I saw Bill and Ted's, and I loved him in that. So
I didn't watch that until much later. I'm not a huge Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I like Bogus Journey a lot more.
That tracks with you specifically. I'm going to say that tracks.
No, I like what was that movie? Not The Seventh Sign. Very different film. Seventh Seal.
Seventh Seal. Okay. Yeah, it also tracks.
And I like that they kind of did death that way.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And William Sadler's always awesome. Giving him more to do is great.
And I didn't watch the third one.
That was fine. It's hard to recapture. Like Bill and Ted's, both Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey were very much 80s films. They felt like 80s films. They were in that time. The 80s were kind of a character in that film to a degree. It's hard to recapture that essence.
Yeah, I did them I watched them and did a review of them as a part of my 90s kid reviews.
Yeah, because it was like 89 was the first one, I think. 89 was the first one. The second was like 91, something like that. But still the 80s character. The third one, they tried to recapture that, and it was fun.
Oh, and I like that they had like the robot replacements. It felt very Last Starfighter to me.
That's a good point. Yeah, I do love Last Starfighter, and that was very much Last Starfighter on steroids, though, a little bit more caricature even than Last Starfighter was. But all right. Bring us back on track, as I try to do.
I forgot where we were.
We jumped from Henry being a dick to the next scene is this random visitors eating a canary sequence. This episode is chock full of these like little 30-second scenes that are basically transition scenes, and I don't like. My head, I'm like, are these really necessary? I mean, I guess they.
And then a lot of holding too long on unnecessary shots.
Yes,
I feel like this show's budget would have been a little bit better if they didn't spend so much on all these little animals.
That's true. There's no need to see the guards eating the canary at this point. Is that just establishing that they eat animals? We know.
And I'm assuming that if you have live animals on set, that you need to have someone there watching to make sure that they're not being harmed. That costs money.
Good call. Absolutely. All right. So Henry gets away. They arrest Dr. Atkins, and they arrest the tuna lady and her compatriot there. And of course, we get the "you'll pay for this" from Henry. You'll pay for this. I will admit, I did like the score here. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. There's some music that played in the background here that I did like, so I will give it small credit where credit's due. I had that in my notes. But then we jump back to another ship, and we notice that Lydia deals with things, and Philip has a line that's very smug. He just turns and goes, "More bad news." I love smug Philip, snarky Philip. I don't know why. Like it's just
You know, at this point, how are Lydia and Diana still in their positions of power?
that is the perfect question, especially because Philip says something to the effect of, eventually Diana's failings are going to look bad on you because she's underneath. When? Like, how many does it take? How many times does it take?
Is Diana still on the leader's good side? I have follow-ups.
Yeah, that's you know what? Pamela said it best in the final battle that, they were lovers, but yet the leader sent her like millions of light years, 9,000 whatever light years away. No sign that he can't stand to be without her. And then she's failed every single time. And Lydia went back, told him, and then they sent Charles. So obviously, I don't think the leader has much faith in Diana at this point, but yet Diana still finds a way to make it work for her, despite Lydia being in charge now, kind of, and then Philip over her. The whole hierarchy is still kind of strange. I mean, they both have 3 stripes, so I don't know why Philip's technically in charge. I don't know what the whole hierarchy is. It's kind of strange, but okay.
I mean, if you're looking like real military, that's not necessarily a signifier of anything per se, because you can get the little badge things for different things. Like you might have been involved in a certain mission, so you'll get one, versus someone who's higher ranking than you when you transfer might not have been involved in that same mission, so he would be absent that, so you might end up having one more than him, or less, and then those don't signify rank.
From what we've seen
US
in
military.
V, from what we've seen in V, they definitely signify rank, though they've always been that way. At least in V.
Well, maybe they're kind of equitable, but he's just a little higher.
Yeah, I guess
but
so.
not quite 4th, but he's like 3rd, but a higher ranking 3rd than her.
Yeah, I'm the inspector general.
Then why do they have lieutenants? And also, I'm just gonna say it. That's the worst fucking name. What is a lieutenant? And why is it spelled so weird?
That is an accent for lieutenant. So for some reason, actually, that's a question I've always had.
I've looked it up. It's a stupid reason, but anyway, it's a dumb title and it's spelled dumb.
Is it spelled differently than lieutenant?
I mean, lieutenant spelled dumb too.
It is, but are they actually spelled differently?
I think so.
Okay, I always thought it was just a random accent thing that some like English people did.
Oh no, it's not an accent thing. It's like a different term.
I did not even know that. Okay, because in all of the things, in all the character Bibles, it says Lieutenant James. So I don't know. It's as far as I know.
The character Bibles. So he's just lieutenant for this one episode. Maybe I misheard it and they said lieutenant and my brain heard lieutenant. That could be.
According to this, it says it's the British way of saying lieutenant. So lieutenant is the British way of saying it. I don't know. Interesting things about that word. I'll have to look it up off air. Maybe we'll come back next episode with an actual full explanation. I'll do a deep dive into it. But either way, Lieutenant James is doing his thing. Lydia sends for Diana now because she's going to eventually spank Diana, I guess. And this is where we get step number 2 of the weirdness of V here. Diana with her pimp, Oswald, who has 4 or 5.
Can I just
three? Go.
Why
right
are
ahead,
there
please.
3 shirtless men in Diana's room with another man bringing them? Is this an escort service? Is that what I'm seeing? Oswald, you dog, you. Is Oswald a pimp? Okay, Scotty Bowers. Oh, yeah, it is. This is exactly what's happening. And Diana says, have them scrubbed and oiled. I'll make my choice later.
Now, what I want to know, are these visitors or are these humans?
Oh, they're visitors.
Are they?
They're being oiled. Motor oil, like last episode.
The same motor oil just says oiled, and men get oiled up all the time. Bodybuilders get oiled up all the time. That's how it works. I don't know. With Diana's
they gotta keep those scales nice and scaly.
With Diana's proclivities, you never know.
Right. I don't know.
Now, again, though, the weird situation is Oswald intimates that he says, I had no idea you lost your fascination with you know who? And Diana says,
No names.
no names. Yeah, I'm like, okay. So when did that happen? Because in the beginning of the episode, they were in bed together.
Because
But
he's failing her.
he failed her once, kind of. I
mean, he's failed a few times, hasn't he?
That's true. But I mean, she was happy with him 10 minutes ago.
Oh, she was faking.
Is that what it was? She was making
Oh,
look.
yeah.
She hadn't gotten the new oiled
She
up.
was giving her full Meg Ryan performance.
There you go. I'll have what she's having. All right. So yeah, then Diana gets sent to Lydia's quarters, where Lydia eats worms of some kind or bugs of some kind. This is the more eating stuff in the week. Okay. Luckily, I don't think the worms needed any kind of animal handler. I think you're okay with that. But Diana always seems to weasel her way out of things. With Lydia, I don't understand. Is Lydia that dumb? How did she get to be where she is? Because Diana just basically tricks her every time. And it's like, fool me once, shame on me, twice, shame on me. Where are we going with Lydia? I mean, I know you don't like Lydia. You've never liked Lydia, I don't think. So I'm starting to get there too. She's kind of a waste of a character. She never should have come back. She should have died. And Charles
should have been the Mad Max chick. Yeah. Should have been
Angela.
that chick from last episode.
Yeah, that's right. One. Angela or whatever. That's what should have been.
Yeah.
That would have made much more sense. So they bring Dr. Atkins and they put him in the converter, kind of, but it's not a converter.
I have no idea what's happening. And he's a professor of psycho-cybernetics?
Yes, that's a great term. I don't know what that necessarily is. It sounds good, though. It sounds like a very 80s.
Is that the psychology of computers?
I guess so. Maybe it's like cybernetically implants in the head so that you can... I don't know. I'm kind of going off the riff there, but it is weird that it's a torture chamber thing. It's to interrogate them, but at the same thing, it looks exactly like the converter that they had Jacob and Hammond earlier. Actually, to be honest with you, but the best part is, of course, they have him try to connect with the computer, which he never did because Henry did it, and he keeps like, "I can do it," and he keeps failing, and then they are able to draw this image from his head. And this is such a
cybernetics.
That's exactly what it is. Now, this is the case where I will agree with you that this was stupid. It was very stupid, but I went with it. Okay, so their technology is they can draw this face from his mind. Okay, I'll buy it and go with it. I've definitely seen worse things, but man, it looks.
I kind of wish it was an Etch-a-Sketch.
That's exactly what I wrote down. It is an Etch-a-Sketch version of Mr. Josh there, Henry himself. So, of course, Lydia brings James back in because James keeps failing. That's right. This is the thing. Lydia just kept complaining to Philip and to Diana for allowing James to run the search. That's been Diana's fault. Diana's been failing because she's allowing Lieutenant James to run the search. So they find this kid, Henry Atkins, in his face. And what's the first thing Lydia does? Goes to alert Lieutenant James at once.
Well, he's there.
Consistency, folks.
Now, do we think that James is competent or incompetent?
See, that's tough because James is being sent up against the best of the best, going up against Mike Donovan, the Beastmaster. He's going up against the plot armor of the Resistance. Basically, I mean, he seems like he's mostly competent. To be honest with him, he seems more competent than anybody else has been as a guard, but he just runs into problems because we have Jedi Elizabeth who foils him and the Beastmaster who foils him. And the Beastmaster, of course, can beat any visitor in a one-on-one contest, despite the visitor being highly trained in physical hand-to-hand combat. But they're on Earth this time. They're on his planet, so Donovan can win every time. But I think James is mostly competent. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that he is up against. I mean, he's the bad guy,
right?
But I so he has to lose. But I think that what he's doing up until those moments are generally smart, and tactical.
It actually goes to the show itself, and one of the problems the weekly series had is that they just made, and I know the Resistance can't lose, but when you always make Diana lose every week, she just becomes less threatening. And James is the same kind of way. Like, you have to let her win sometimes in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, it's just a sense of, okay, Diana's going to do something, the Resistance are going to beat her completely. Now, if Diana wins one, kills somebody, gets some kind of, she has a goal and achieves it, and later on they foil something, that makes for a better villain. Now it's like, okay, so how is Diana gonna fuck up this week, or or who's gonna fuck up to blow Diana's plans?
Yeah, making this episodic really doesn't work, and
Right.
having only essentially one bad guy in Diana,
Right,
doesn't really work.
I mean, that's why they brought James in, I think, because then you can kind of blame James and say, well, Diana would win, but it's almost already too late at this point because Diana's already been foiled quite a few times already.
Yeah.
But either way, okay, the next.
Look bad at the end of this episode.
Oh, I know. Oh, God. Then Philip comes out, and here's what I mean about this: is Philip is the guy in control, yet he's sneaking around like an underling. Like, he looks for Lydia, and goes in and steals the battle plans.
He needed to hear that song. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Because he is conspicuous as hell.
Seriously, you are the man in charge. You can go into the battlefield room. You can do whatever you want to do. You are the one in charge. And you don't have to wait to explain yourself to anybody. That's part of the best thing about being in control. But either way. So we go back down to Earth, and this is where Elizabeth and Willie have made their way to the scene. And Donovan, Willie, okay, we like Willie, but yeah, Elizabeth, not so much. And of course, the first thing happens, because Elizabeth is on scene, Elizabeth gets to the whole, I'm going to piece together exactly what happened, because that's my new Jedi power this week. I know.
No, she's had that before.
Has she?
No.
Without having seen there?
Never mind.
She's had the photographic memory.
Yeah.
And she has the feeling when Kyle was there, but I don't think she's ever had this whole idea of like, I know exactly what happened now. So, of course, Elizabeth does that. Donovan and Kyle are going to go break into the storefront, which is the Atkins storefront, which is already boarded up all of a sudden. I don't know who boarded it up. I don't think the visitors would have cared to board it up. And I don't think Henry would have boarded it up. But
I thought oh, no, it wasn't. I don't know. Yeah, that was dumb.
It's kind of weird. Elizabeth and Willie go look out for visitors. Donovan and Kyle then meet Henry. And Henry is, yes, yet again, douchey the whole time. He meets Donovan. They handshake. That's the first thing, and that's fine. Didn't he say reach for it, Holmes? Did you see it?
Yes.
Reach for it, Holmes.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't.
I mean, it's LA.
I can't.
It's LA.
I can't. Henry admits to being the hacker, which of course Kyle is going to praise, and Kyle's very excited about it. Donovan goes to get Elizabeth, but as soon as they get back, Donovan says that the visitors are on their way. Elizabeth and Willie made it out, and this is the first time that something happens. Is Henry or Donovan and Kyle try to take Henry, and Donovan gets so annoyed because he's like, "I'm not doing anything. I'm not going with you." And Donovan goes to grab him, and goes, "You damn right you are. You goddamn believe it." And grabs his arm. Of Henry.
I think you're reading this as a lot more aggressive than it was.
He grabbed him by the arm and said, I have the seat up right this second. Look, I don't have to listen to you. Want to bet? Come on, and grabs him.
I think you're reading it more aggressive. Like, this was just typical Donovan to me.
Henry has a secret way out, and Donovan and Kyle go out the secret way. And then what happens? Donovan goes to do some reconnaissance, and we get some shots from the original miniseries where he's taking camera shots of the airfield. Where is Henry? He is playing video games with Willie and really being a douche. Hey, this guy, this is really great. my dad is out somewhere and you guys are taking a coffee break, because it's just that easy.
Listen, like his dad's been abducted. Okay.
Donovan out
Come on,
looking for a lead.
PLD.
Donovan out looking for a lead. But this guy thinks resistance is going to come, automatically know where his dad is, and spring him, and be back before noon. And
He's got priorities. His dad's gone.
And
He's
you know
young.
what?
He has to be a brat.
The same things were said about Robin, and you hated Robin.
But she wasn't a fun character in Fright Night 2. She didn't have any lines.
Robin wasn't on 21 Jump Street.
So. All right, Fright Night 2.
And then he has the audacity to low-key drag Willie. He starts saying video games are so easy while Willie's over there struggling on his video game.
You have to use your hands? It's like a baby's toy. Come on, even Elijah Wood knew that in Back to the Future 2, and that was in 85 or 2015. I can't math.
Yeah, math. It's I don't math either. It's okay. So Donovan finds the neighbors supposedly and thinks he's found the father. So Donovan and company all go to break him out, including Henry, because Henry's going to be real important to have on that mission to break out the kid. Gets everybody out, but Henry is not there, because as we know, Dr. Atkins is already on the mothership being tortured to find out where Henry is. But then, of course, how does Henry respond? Everybody but my dad.
Okay, but you have to understand, he's like Keanu. I'm telling you, he talks like Keanu. He just has a different voice. He has a real California bleed, man.
Yeah, but you know what, though? When Keanu talks like that, it just sounds like he's dumb. Just sounds like he's stoned. This guy just sounds like a douchey asshole.
Are you saying the California bleed is a douchey accent?
When Henry uses it, yes, I am.
Okay, I'm willing to accept that.
All right, so
insulting my people.
Henry is not your people, whether you want to agree with that or not. Take Fright Night 2 out of your mind. I'm not saying Josh Richmond. I'm saying Henry Atkins is not your people. Okay? Anyway, next up, Donovan, Kyle, and Henry visit Philip again. Philip gives him the battle plan to prove his worth, to prove that he is, in fact, part of the Fifth Column, part of the Resistance. And Henry, of course, says something to the effect of, I'm not going to wait around for some turncoat to do something. And this is where Donovan, you say I'm reading into this aggression. Donovan literally comes up to him. He has the battle plans in hand. Goes like this, has to stop himself and goes, and has to walk away. He literally has to walk away before he knocks the kid on his ass. And honestly speaking, it's my favorite part of the episode because Mark Singer plays it. So it's because he grabs him, first of all. Listen, buddy, you're not going anyplace. Almost hits him and does the overacting Mark Singer Beastmaster stuff that we love. We don't get much of it in this episode. That's right there, though. And then he walks away, letting Kyle do the mentor.
I feel like he's like an angry Mon Mothra. And, many Bothans died to bring us this information. And he's going to defend them from any naysayers.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
He just gets that one point. He's just like walks off.
You just got to bobblehead it.
That's what it is. Donovan absolutely is bobbleheading it. Has to go away and listen and watch Kyle be the mentor. And again, I don't think Kyle does a very good job mentoring. It works.
I disagree, though. I do think Kyle does a good job of mentoring.
He needs a mentor.
I think that the weird audio and the way that they shot the scenes was atrocious, but
maybe that's what it is.
He was, trying to relate. He knows what it's like to have a dad sacrifice himself for you.
Yeah, but he doesn't. You're comparing Dr. Atkins to Nathan Bates.
I am.
That's a little bit of a stretch. I think it's a little bit of a stretch.
But they both did, Nathan Bates did die.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Mm-hmm. trying to make sure that his kid lived.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
Dr. Atkins did get arrested to make sure that they didn't arrest Henry.
Okay, it's a stretch. It's definitely a stretch. I'll let it go. I'll let it go. But speaking of Nathan Bates, where do we go to get the computers? Back to Science Frontiers.
I mean, at least they remembered that.
I was actually going to say that brought warm feelings to my heart. I'm kind of like, okay, this place existed, even though Nathan Bates died like 6 episodes ago. It still exists. And that's actually scary to me that I had to think that way. And here we are. It's only been about 6 episodes since Nathan died, I think. Let me give or take. And the fact that I'm excited that they went back to Science Frontiers, that they remember it existed after 6 episodes, that's a bad sign.
It feels like a lot longer. It feels like a lot's happened since then.
It does. It really does. I mean, he did. I mean, I think that because he died in, it was the same episode that Ham left, I believe. So it was episode 12. So it's only 5 episodes later. 5 episodes later from that moment.
It feels like we've been through a lifetime.
Yeah.
A war, one might say.
Sorry, Mark Beastmaster, you've done your best. Without Ham, though, it's been a little bit of a hard sell. But but Mark's doing the best he can. They get to Science Frontiers, and what's the first thing that happens? Henry. All right, Answer Man, where are the computers?
Listen, okay, he's got a bad attitude.
And how do we get there? Kyle even has to answer back, well, the elevator at the end of the hall might help. And it's when Donovan grabs Henry again, goes, come on, and throws him down the hall. You're making Donovan mad. You're making Donovan, who is Captain America in V. For lack of another word, he's basically been Captain America V. He's throwing the kid around. That's how douchey and annoying this kid is. He never threw Robin around, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, but he's got old-fashioned ideals. He wouldn't do that to a girl.
That's true. That's true. So James shows up at Science Frontiers, and everybody's all worried. The power goes out. And what happens? Deus Ex Machina. Elizabeth is able to close the elevator door and throw the elevator to power it up. How does Elizabeth connect with the national grid or the power grid?
I thought maybe she was levitating the elevator up, but no, that's not what happens. She can, tackle AC/DC.
Dirty deeds done dirt cheap. Yeah, it's pretty rough that Elizabeth has done all this stuff, and she keeps doing it. She sends the elevator back down with a grenade from Donovan.
Oh no, but I wrote a note before that. You're gonna hate it.
Okay.
I'm really loving Henry and Kyle's chemistry. They really bounce off each other well.
The only thing Henry should be bouncing off of is Donovan's fist. That's about the only thing he's bouncing off at this point. By the way, I did forget something. I'm seeing my notes now. Just jump back real quick to the scene where Donovan rescues the neighbors and everything else. He actually has the great line when the guard is sleeping and Donovan and Willie take out the guard. Donovan goes in there. I'm with the resistance. I think you've just been rescued.
He's not sure. He can't make promises until they're fully out.
It was well delivered. I'll give Martian credit. It was well delivered, but it was funny. So anyway, so we're back. So we're in Science Frontiers, and Donovan and Willie are going to hold off James. Willie trying to get some action again for the first time in a while. Real action. I mean, I guess he did have a gun in the Wildcats episode. He did knock out that one guard in the Wildcats episode. I'll give him that credit. But Willie definitely seems overwhelmed while Donovan's going to save things. All while Elizabeth is going to have to turn the power on again for the computers so that Henry can do his little Independence Day thing. And this is where what happens, like we mentioned it before, where he gives up until Elizabeth yells at him, basically. And this is an awful scene. It's just an awful sequence. It's awful for Elizabeth. It's awful for Henry. We're watching them basically play Space Invaders on the computer that's how it looks like.
I have no idea what's happening at the end, but I don't know, whatever. Good guys win.
It's like, yeah, it's so strange. We don't even know what they're doing. He's doing something, and all of a sudden, we do get. Before we get that, we get the interesting sequence of Lydia, Diana, and Philip Lydia and Diana kind of confronting Philip a little bit about the Sentry, seeing Philip not being in his office or something like that. It was kind of a weird thing. Like they tried to like make it look like Philip looked guilty of something, but all they really had on him was that he wasn't in his office at the time that the battle plan were like. That's all you got. That's what you're going to confront him with. The fact that you weren't in your room. You're a commanding officer on the ship, and you weren't in your room. Like that just seemed like.
And he basically does the "Don't question me, girl."
That's actually the best part of the sequence because he does actually push it. He's like, I don't need to do my whereabouts to anybody to you. But he doesn't even leave it because he leaves and stops and turns around and actually literally points out, or are you suggesting I'm part of the fifth column? And calls them out right on it. To which, of course, they get to answer, well, of course not, because that would be treasonous or mutinous or whatever. They're considered mutiny. So you have to go out for that. All right. So going back. So you have this thing where Elizabeth yells at Henry, and we said the whole thing. It's strange that what happens is we have these explosions happening all over. We get this montage of familiar footage. Pretty much every skyfighter we've ever seen destroyed in V, we get to see again. But here's the problem with using that familiar footage. Some of those skyfighters were shot down. So they have like big holes in their like. What is the battlesphere doing to make that happen? Like it just, and I get it. It's like, okay, you got to throw your hands out and be like, whatever.
It don't make no sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. We just need to see skyfighters going down. That's about it. I did like the scene where Donovan runs up to Willie and is like, Willie, they're coming. They're right there. Willie's like, really a lot? Oh God. He's like getting weird about it. So Donovan throws a grenade at them and they try to high five. And Willie can't really high. That I liked.
Donovan sticks his hand up and then Willie sticks his hand up. So then Donovan tries to bring Willie's hand. We see in this moment Donovan fail in a way that we've never seen Donovan fail before.
He's not used to high fiving Willie, that's for sure. All right. So they go out, they get out. We have this ham-fisted moment. This let it hit you over the head moment where, because Philip gets Dr. Atkins out and has the lieutenant of the fifth column bring him down to Earth, and they meet Donovan and Kyle and Henry and company. And what happens is Henry sees Dr. Atkins, gets all excited. What does Dr. Atkins say? Thanks to the fifth column. Like it's like this like G.I. Joe, like knowing it's half the battle. Are here thanks to the fifth column. Just so Donovan can go, hey, Philip came through, didn't he? Yeah, I'll never doubt him again.
Oh my God.
It's so bad. It is so bad. Like there's a lot of bad dialogue in this. This is really bad, though. This is awful.
Truly terrible.
Yeah. And then, so actually, and I jumped forward, but this is where we have the montage of the sky fighters. But of course, what happens at the end is like the piece de resistance, the icing on the cake. After all of the montage of destruction, we get more familiar footage with Lydia turning to Diana saying, well, better luck next time. From like the third episode when Donovan and Ham. So Lydia is in her completely different uniform with the golden shoulder pads that are up that she hasn't worn in like forever, with the hair down. Diana looking younger with the sparkly vest and everything. And it's just.
And her dialogue is kind of cut off.
Yes.
And we end on a freeze frame of pissed off Diana again. But it's like also cut off really abruptly.
Yep.
So it goes to credits and it's like, you are getting so over in on this, holding on faces too long, and this you just like cut off like instantly. What is happening here?
I don't know. It makes no sense at all, but it is what it is, and that's how the episode ends. That's how, in my estimation, and I think we are going to do an episode where we rank the episodes. I think that's what we'll do at the end. maybe before we move on to V 2009. We have a couple of teasing now. I've had a couple of special episodes in mind. We're going to rank some characters. We do have the scripts to go over and everything else. I think we should do a ranking of episodes. We haven't ranked any of these before. But this, in my estimation, spoiler alert, I believe this is my least favorite episode of the series. But we'll find out. I'm kind of wondering if it'll change, and maybe I'll really dislike next week's episode. Although, real quick, personally, I think, interestingly enough, this episode was one I did not see in the original run when I was 9 years old watching V. I missed this episode for whatever reason. I think they did not rerun it when they did a rerun. So they ran it in the fall of '84, May of '85, and they reran it. And I think on reruns they did not air this episode. So I never saw this one until I was in college, like 10 years later.
Because
I was actually
embarrassed.
That might have been what it is. That could have been what it is. But I remember going to college and my friend had it on tape, and I was very excited because I was so obsessed with the V as a kid. And here it was, a treasure trove, an episode I had not seen. So I was like, yes, one more episode with Donovan and everybody else. And it was this episode. And I was in college at that point, so my taste had definitely matured a little bit. To the point where I watched this and went, oh, this is bad. This is not good. So I have less nostalgia for this episode than I do for the rest. It might be another reason why I think this is my least favorite episode. But I also think that this is just bad. So, any last thoughts on this episode?
It's weird. It's not good.
It's not good. It's not good.
They were trying to be in with the times, and they were not.
They definitely were not. It's sad. It's sad, but you know what? We're past it. We have 2 more episodes left to watch: The Secret Underground and then The Return, before we discuss the script, The Attack, which would have been episode 20.
It's a good name.
Yeah, great name. Great name. But that will do it for this week. I can't wait to get to our next couple episodes as well. Lega, where can the folks find you?
I can be found on YouTube at Legoland13, as well as on Spotify and Apple Podcast with the Unhinged Binge, and on the Rob Fishbeck Network on YouTube, where we do a show on Thursday evenings about random stuff. This year we decided we want to cover a lot, going over the history and some of our favorite movies from various film studios, particularly the smaller ones and maybe the ones that aren't around anymore.
Very nice. And when is your next Unhinged Binge? Because I want to see Friday the 13th Part 2.
So I'm going to be doing... I'm going to be filming a review of a bunch of the horror movies I've seen from 1981, probably tomorrow. But my buddy Kurt and I won't be doing... we're doing Friday the 13th Part 2 in a comparison with The Burning. Probably in 2 weeks, I think.
Cool. Very cool. The Burning is a very underrated movie, I think.
We all know the main character in the Friday the 13th film is Tom Savini.
Correct.
And he, of course, did not do Part 2, instead going to do The Burning, which, right, if you've not seen that film, are very similar.
Similar. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely very similar.
Very, very similar. They're kind of launching our camp horror.
I think,
yeah.
I actually think, spoiler alert, I think I prefer The Burning to Friday the 13th Part 2, I think.
I don't think that I do, but I've only watched it once and I need to re-see it.
That's fair. I think I need to see Jason when he gets his mask. Baghead Jason didn't do it for me as much.
And then I just read this book. I think it was called See, Hear, Cut, Kill.
Mm-hmm.
And it explores, it's very much for people who want to read about filmmaking. So I wouldn't recommend it. But they do focus on the Friday the 13th franchise. And I think it was really interesting that he was talking a lot about how it was serialized compared to the kind of other bigger franchises, right, Nightmare and Halloween, respectively, as well as a lot of others. But like kind of looking at that really kind of reframed the opening of a lot of the series for me. So I can't wait to start getting into how the opening really sets the tone, and for not only that particular film, but where it lies within the franchise and how that compares to kind of some of the other bigger horror franchises.
Very interesting. There's some very interesting stuff. Probably like the opening to V, right? Because I know that's your favorite thing in the world.
And I
Anyway.
squish your head.
Anyway, I am PLD. I'm at Paul_Denuzzi on Twitter, and a little bit of business. Actually, probably should have mentioned this on top, but I kind of forgot because that's how we roll sometimes. If you are watching us, then this is not for you. If you are listening to us on the audio feed, well, then congratulations. I mean, you found us. In fact, I'm probably speaking to the wrong people. But as I mentioned a few weeks back, was in the process of splitting the PLD Projects audio feed. PLD Projects housed all of our shows here on PLD Projects, which is Review, Two Mediocre White Dudes on Film with PJ Campbell, which we're ending our Friday the 13th saga by going over the Womp Stomp fan films. We aren't going to watch Never Hike Alone, The Ghost Cut, and Never Hike Alone 2. We're actually going to cover those. PJ really loves them, and I really enjoy them as well. But beyond that, we have that Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast every Wednesday, and I do my Crown Jewels podcast every week. So all 4 podcasts and Big Blue Box I do with PJ, the Doctor Who one we do sporadically. We're all on my PLD Projects feed. I started to divide them up to have they're each going to have their own feed, and I was going to make them go live when I migrated all the old episodes over to the new feed. That's when I was going to cut it off and start putting it only on its feed. Well, Review had the least amount of episodes of any podcast I've had, so I was able to get that up quickly. I am now all caught up. The Review feed is live, so go find that. I'll put that in the show notes here. The actual link to Review actually should be in the show notes already. Click on that because that's where this episode and all future Review episodes will be on. They will not be on the PLD Projects audio feed. They will be on its own Review feed. And I just did all that, and I plugged all my other stuff. So there you go. It's all 2 for 1 there. One last thing I will plug. We do have a Patreon, patreon.com/PLD Projects. You can join Austin Goodell, Brendan Buckingham, Jeff Alterman, a bunch of cool people, do some extra content, or I'll get back to some extra content after this crazy month and a half ends. I'll get back to doing some more that way. But can't wait for next time. Again, it'll be The Secret Underground. Julie returns, that's for sure. It's a Donovan and Julie full episode, very much Kyle, Elizabeth, and Willie light. I don't even know if Willie actually appeared in it at all, or if they do. I think they might be together. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's definitely a Donovan and Julie episode.
And I'm probably going to be talking about makeup a lot.
Yes, you absolutely will, because every time you brought up makeup, I've thought of this episode.
But I'm right to do it next time.
100% you are. You're actually always right to do it. I actually agree with you. I think it's fun because I never thought about it that way. It kind of makes me think of things in a different way. Even I thought about it when I was a kid during this next episode. That's a little tease for you.
But I would love to watch this episode with someone who does makeup effects.
Tom Savini.
Like a Tom Savini, a Rick Baker, something like that. I just want their reaction to it.
It would be one of horrified.
Or envy. I'm like, oh, how did they make theirs? I almost wish, because I kind of got the sense that it's not makeup, but they almost shift, it's technology, kind of like the alien hunters in Critters.
Plug. Yeah, plug. Good movie.
Critters is a great movie. Underrated film.
Very underrated fun. Very fun. Critters 2 is even watchable.
Critters 2 is, I mean, come on. You don't get that many Easter horror movies.
That's true. That's a good selling point right there. So
Easter Day and Peter Rottentail are not that good. I think Critters 2 might be the best Easter horror movie.
It is a low bar, but you probably are right. You probably are right. I'm not even trying to be slating towards Critters 2, but Critters 1 is definitely where it's at for me.
And I think the Kyoto brothers did a really good job.
They did. It's still Critters 1 though. But all right. That's it for now. Stay tuned until next time. Until then, Prete Nama, everybody. Prete Nama.